Teshu.
Hello and welcome to episode 21 of the IMANAH Podcast, where we're peeling back the layers of falsities with the truth. Friends, think about waking up at 3 a.m., heart racing, mind revving high, scrolling through an endless loops of anxiety, and your body feels utterly depleted. Believe it or not, this is a reality faced by a good majority of the people in the modern world. You drag yourself out of bed, self medicate with caffeine, or swallow a
Arthe,
couple of pills,
arthe.
and head out the door, convinced that this is just what the modern life feels like. This and other interventions leave a residual effect on the body. There is a silent war happening right now. And if you don't understand the mechanics of it, you aren't just losing, you're being harvested. While the masses are distracted, blindly trusting a system designed to keep them sick, exhausted, and dependent. The very blueprint of human vitality is being manipulated in the dark. But you don't have to be a casualty. The truth doesn't hide in a pill bottle, it is on full display in the unchangeable, undeniable laws of natural health science. The principles we teach and the solutions you can access right now at IMANAH.com are not just an alternative. They are the exact blueprint to opt out of the matrix and take back control of your own biology. Today, we are applying these principles directly to the root cause of chronic fatigue and why so many people are led to believe that their body is attacking itself. Millions of people are walking around today completely broken, handed a lifetime sentence by the medical establishment. They're given a label, autoimmune. They're told that their own body has mysteriously gone rogue, that their immune system has just decided to attack them. That is a lie. It is a diagnostic trap designed to cover up the real culprits. Your immune system is not stupid. It is not betraying you. It is doing exactly what it is designed to do. It is launching a fierce, desperate defense against foreign toxic material that was forcibly injected into your bloodstream. They put poison in it, your body fights the poison, and when the fallout happens, they have the audacity to blame your biology. This is the greatest medical gaslighting of our time. Your body isn't attacking itself. The only thing attacking itself is their logic. Their narrative is the only thing self-destructing. Today we are exposing the direct, undeniable correlation between injectables and your body's natural defense response. This isn't theory. This is a counterattack. Listen closely, take notes, because ignorance is no longer an excuse. I'd like Guruji to tell us more about what people believe to be autoimmune diseases.
How this body was made has been explained in the Vedanta, and we don't have to rely on any other sources other than Vedanta. Vedanta is science, where science ends, Vedanta begins. Vedanta is where science ends, Vedanta begins. Vedanta is the philosophy of life. Life of all beings in the world. There are so many living beings. They all live with the support of nature, except human beings who think themselves as the wisest of all, and they have done the most foolish thing which no animal does. All animals live healthy from the time of their birth until they die. There are animals who live even longer than human beings, and still they are healthy. They're not depending upon any medicine. Medicine is a sin of meddling with nature. Nature has designed our bodies in such a way that you can rely upon nature for all help. Our body is made up of these five elements: ether, air, sunlight, water, and earth. Earth comes last, but of least importance. Earth is everything that comes from the earth. From plants, water comes our food. This is explained in the Vedanta. All science ends where Vedanta begins. There are so much of knowledge to be acquired from the Vedanta that we have adopted in natural health science. Natural health science is a science that comes to us naturally. Every living being, other than human beings, they are following nature's laws and living a healthy life until their last day. There is a story of a buffalo calf, which has been said so many times in our lectures. It's worthy to repeat it in a short version even now. There was a buffalo calf which got sick, and the owner of the buffalo calf took it to her doctor. Doctors examined the buffalo calf, veterinary doctor, and he says there is no scope of saving it. It's going to die. Just let it be. The owner brings it back to the farm and leaves it alone. He doesn't do anything with it. But the buffalo calf was lying down without eating any food for 3 days. It's a buffalo calf of not even 1 year old. 3 days it did not eat anything, but after 3 days it just moved to the sunlight, put the head in the shade. Automatically, the buffalo calf knew how to take sun bath. It was lying with the head in the shade, body in the sunlight. This side, that side, he would turn and then he would try to walk, take a little sip of water and walk around. And 3 days, no food, just water and sunlight, air, everything was there. But that is food, that's medicine. The animal knew better than human beings that medicine comes from natural elements like ether, air, sunlight, water. These are neglected food. People don't think about this as medicines. How can water cure our body? There is a complete science of water cure, hydrotherapy they call it. And they have shown wonderful results out of that. And what we do is in natural health science is give attention to those areas and prescribe treatment in order to give them hydrotherapy, solar therapy, breathing exercise, all those things. Immediately we see the reactions coming out, their disease symptoms have gone, and they are becoming healthier and healthiest. And it is no miracle. It has been compared so many times. Thousands of patients who have come to natural health science became very good in matter of few weeks without giving any medicine. They were diagnosed with common cold to dreaded cancer. We didn't care what diagnosis they got. We recorded them just for record's sake. We have got recorded issue text of about more than thousands of patients where they have been diagnosed with this disease or that, but treatment for all of them is the same. Introducing the five natural elements. The fifth one is the food, and before that comes all the four elements which are more potent and capable of repairing the body faster without any pain. It's a some amazing thing. Initially, we think, oh, if we don't give medicine, there will be pain, this pain, that pain. All the pains can be disposed of with hydrotherapy, air therapy, solar therapy. Amazing results have been seen. Why we cannot compete with medical science? They have got such a great financial support from governments all over the world, and they have been recognized as a scientific and reliable system. And natural health science, which is really the scientific system, has not got that support. All of us have got to work together to show results in records, in papers. That's what we have to keep submitting results in public, what do you call, media, and show them that this person came with the diagnosis of diabetes and he did not take any diabetic medicine or any such thing, but he followed natural health science. He took sun bath, he did deep breathing exercise, and he did running, gradually starting his diet with vegetable juices and then solid salads and things like that. Record all the treatment that has been done and publish it in public websites. We must post it and show them that it doesn't matter what disease it is. The most scientific system is natural health science. And let them call it any disease, it doesn't matter.
You mentioned that animals live a robust, healthy life, while the smartest animal, the human, has outsmarted himself into a diminished life. What about domestic pets? Are domestic animals being subjected to some of the same human interventions as what's happening typically with humans?
I can't see my face coming up.
I think your camera is glitching. We can still hear you though.
Oh, that's good enough. So
Yeah.
repeat your question.
So you were mentioning that the animals live robust, healthy lives, while the smartest animal, the human, has outsmarted himself into a diminished life. What about domestic pets that are under the care of this smart animal?
There was a domestic pet, which was a dog, which became sick.
Mhm.
And there is two stories side by side. One is about a buffalo calf and another of a dog. The dog they took to the doctor and they tried to treat it medically. The doctor said, there is nothing that we can do now. You can give these medicines. They prescribed some medicines for the dog also.
Hmm.
When they brought home, they tried to feed the medicine. The dog will not take. He just fasted for 3 days continuously. It did not lose energy. It was not running around but resting all the time, sometimes in the sunlight, sometimes in the shade. He did it by himself, and third day he was running very happily, very healthy. There was no need to worry about anything.
Are you talking about
The
Muffy?
same thing, exactly.
Yeah,
I remember that.
of course. She was our family dog.
We didn't have to worry about anything, and the dog got cured, and he was very healthy. And the
So,
same thing happened to a buffalo calf in Pollachi. They also saw this animal got cured by himself by taking sun bath, taking a small walks, sipping only water, not eating regular food, and after 3 days it became very healthy.
right. So, I'd like to introduce our first guest who has had experience with what you just now talked about, with personal anecdotal experience. His name is Vinoth Kumar. His journey is a powerful testament to personal transformation. Vinod was an IT entrepreneur who in 2014 faced significant health challenges to an unconscious lifestyle. After successfully reversing his own health issues, he made the courageous decision to leave his IT startup and dedicate himself full time to becoming a wellness professional. Welcome, Vinodji, to the IMANAH Podcast.
Welcome. Thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
So, Vinodji, we typically like to bring on prominent personalities in the natural health field, and we'd like to learn about their journey, their upbringing, their background. So, could you start us off with your background, please?
I come from a very simple middle class family in a called Vellore in Tamil Nadu. My father is a government officer, mom is a homemaker. I'm the first child. I did my engineering in NIT Trichy, instrumentation and control engineering. Then I went to my first IT job in IBM. I was with IT for 3 years. Then I had my own startup in Chennai. I moved to Chennai and then I had a startup. So that is how the journey started. And during the startup days, I used to be eating everything which is available. I used to drink a lot of teas, coffees, just to keep myself active and then keep working. And I used to stay late in the night. I don't have any proper sleep timings. I carried a lot of stress, and my body was showing up a lot of symptoms, very subtle symptoms, but I was ignoring those symptoms because my mind was so gross at that point. The only thing which is in front of me was succeeding in the startup. And one fine day, I was not able to wake up from my bed. So somewhere in August 2014, I slept as a normal person. But when I try to wake up in the morning, I find myself not able to do that. So that is the exact point where it started changing my life. So initially it was like I had believed that it is a very simple, some kind of muscle spasm or something. Then I went to nearby orthopedics and we had consultation. And I got a dose of muscle relaxant, diclofenac or something. And I felt relieved for 4 hours. Then I got the pain back. So this keeps happening for 3 days. Then we went to the further diagnosis since the condition is not getting better, health is not getting better. Then we took MRI and then I was admitted for, there is a diagnosis called some disc bulge or something. Then we started all the physiotherapy treatments and bed rest and all those things. But after 10 days, there is no sign of improvement. Then the thing got escalated and then the rheumatologist visited me and then he had some tests. Then he diagnosed with me with an autoimmune condition called ankylosing spondylitis. So I think that is the biggest low point in my life because I was 28 that time. I had a dream to launch a startup and then move towards financial freedom. And everything was shaken at that point because as per the medical community, there is no cure for the condition. It can only be managed. I was not married that time. It can only be managed with immunosuppressants and steroids and other things. And there is no clear path towards cure or reversing that condition. So initially, I just started with the medical treatment because at that point, I was not finding any alternate. So, but even after taking 20 plus medications every single day, there are a lot of supplements, vitamin D, other supplements. There are immunosuppressants. There is the steroid medicines. There are sleeping pills, and I also had what they call it is a disease-modifying drug, anti-inflammatory drug, like a lot of medicines. Even after taking those medicines, I was not finding any betterment in my symptoms.
So, what is the reason they gave you for the immunosuppressants?
Generally, when we go for the diagnosis, like most of the autoimmune, they say the cause is unknown. But after getting to nature care, I was able to navigate the cause and then understand how I got triggered. But the straightforward diagnosis, the cause is unknown. And the treatment is unknown too. It is not only the cause is unknown, the cure is also unknown. So what we know, what is known is managing that active inflammation is what is being taken care. And there are things like immunosuppressants where the immune system is compromised. So there is not much active inflammation, but there can be other side effects like frequent infections and there can be other possible side effects.
So the understanding or the recognition of inflammation as the natural response from the body doesn't exist.
Yes. It's a chronic inflammation. Then all of us can get inflamed, but it like autoimmune condition, it is a chronic inflammation. There is no known cause for the chronic inflammation.
Right.
Then after a few months, I was super tired, super exhausted, continuing these medications because I'm taking 20 plus medications, but there is no considerable progress, and I was not able to pursue my startup anymore. And I become almost like a dependent. Someone has to support me to walk around the house, everything. So then I started searching for alternates. I started searching for other alternate possibilities to get better. Prior to that, so there is this one defining moment where I was reading this lot. I used to read a lot of books, and somewhere I noticed this statement, Taravara, which means you can be like you are responsible for your sickness and health. It can be like slightly translated like that. So I was just reflecting on those lines. If I am responsible for my sickness, how can I become responsible for my health? So that is why I started searching over the internet, and then I landed into Dr. Arun Sharma's Facebook page, where he was announcing a 5-day or 7-day retreat in Tenambe, Chennai, in January 2025. So till that point, I was just managing things through other things, acupuncture, spiritual healing modalities, and other things.
I see. So after you found the answer, did you think back to the time when you were told no known cure, no known cause, and put 2 and 2 together that there's no known cause for which they can make a profitable treatment?
I'm not able to directly blame them because that is what they understand. That is their understanding about this condition.
Right.
That is how they see this condition as. I've seen even a lot of rheumatologists going through the same kind of treatment.
Right.
immunosuppressant, other things, because they see it as don't consider the lifestyle aspects. They
Yeah,
didn't
you're
ask me
right.
specific
That's true.
questions around my lifestyle, specific questions around stress, specific questions about my dietary habits. They're just trying to understand from the medical blood test reports,
Right.
and like they're able to find any specific reason for this condition being a 28-year-old. But I know, right, I know I was not sleeping for enough. I know I was in stressful situation. I know I was not eating the healthy foods. I know I was taking a lot of stimulants and then my nervous system.
Right.
That is where the realization started coming, and it was very
Yeah.
gross kind of realization till I entered into the nature cure camp. And the very first lesson I got into the nature cure class is organism has the ability to heal itself,
Hmm.
comma, under the right conditions. So instead of worrying about what is the cause, what are the medicines which can cure me, how can I create the right conditions?
Right.
And I also into the reflection of how I created the wrong conditions and then landed into this condition,
Right.
landed into this disease.
It
Yes,
does seem very common sense what you're describing, and that's
yes,
what
yes.
makes me suspicious about.
Mm,
You could even say that your particular doctor, or the people you were dealing with, didn't
mm,
know better, but at some point up the
mm.
hierarchy, they did know.
Yes,
Somebody
yes.
has had to know.
Maybe
These
there is a
decisions.
possibility.
Yeah.
At some point, yes, definitely. Like doctors will also understand this holistic approach. I mean,
Yeah, I
it
can
got
hear you.
frozen.
I can hear you.
Yes,
Hear me?
yes, yes. Higher possibility that there can be multiple reasons. The relationship, right? Like
Hmm.
there are certain doctors who understand the whole picture, and they also know the case studies of people who got better, who got into remission.
Right.
When it get translated into this thing, they talk about risk management. What if the person is not following the lifestyle? What if this person is not changing the diet? So
Hmm.
all those things can show up, and then they end up directly prescribing all the major drugs.
Yeah. You tell them like the typical treatment plan. If you tell them,
Mm,
for example, you tell your
mm,
family member, look, don't eat
yes,
this junk stuff and eat healthy and exercise, etc.
yes,
They'll be
yes,
like, yeah, just saying it, dad's saying it,
yes,
no big deal.
yes,
Then they
yes,
go and hear the same thing from the doctor,
yes,
pre-diabetic, this, that, and then
yes.
suddenly, oh my God, I don't want to get this. And suddenly they become very
Yeah,
on living a healthier life. So
yes,
doctors do have a lot of power when it
mm,
comes to
yes,
suggestions and planting suggestions,
yes,
but they
yes,
don't really take advantage of it,
mm, mm,
oftentimes due to the
mm,
uninformed nature of their training.
yes, yes,
And they don't even consider that it could be a
mm,
lifestyle issue.
yes,
So you mentioned the unconscious lifestyle as a
yes,
contributor to your past health
yes,
issues. How
yes.
do you define the unconscious lifestyle in today's
No, I was
modern world?
disconnected from my body. I was disconnected from my body. My body wanted sleep, but I started drinking a lot of tea and taking a lot of stimulants to keep myself awake. I was stressful, but I was paying attention to that stress. I was not relaxing myself. I had digestive disturbance by I continued eating all the oily, fried, spicy foods. So there is
Mm,
a greater disconnect with the body, and when the disconnect was so big, the body has no other way other than to stop me, putting me into a painful state, and then put me into a reflective state, and then work on myself. Till that
have you?
point, it was more forgiving. Like I think it has been forgiving me for so many years. At some point, I have to come back to my balance. I think that is why I got this. That I believe that is why I got this condition.
I see. So have you reflected on the benefits of the
Yes,
fact
yes,
that you underwent these conditions and
yes,
therefore gained a
yes,
personal experience and knowledge,
yes. It
and
is a
thereby
super.
you're able to help so many other people in your life?
Yes, it opened a lot of possibilities for me. I always say this to my clients: pain is a leverage.
Hmm.
Pain is the highest form of leverage, because without this pain, I used to be a very different Vinod. This pain made me a better human being. This pain made me pay attention to my body. This pain changed a lot of my dietary lifestyle habits. This pain helped me to help a lot of other people who are suffering with the pains and challenges. So this pain was a defining moment of me, and I had two choices: keep worrying about this pain, to keep asking why this to me, and I also had other possibility: how can I use the pain to outgrow this pain? How
Mm.
can I use this pain as a leverage? So this pain has defined newer version of Vinod, and it is definitely a better version, I can say.
So, how did your family react when you took on this new lifestyle?
They were uncertain. They are not hopeful about this. They're worried about what is going to happen to me. Abruptly stopping all the medicines and then trying to explore. I also lost 35 kgs. Like initial days of nature cure, I
Mm.
used to be 85, and then I went into this raw lifestyle. I drink a lot of I went on a lot of tender coconut diets. I went on fasting, and then I lost up to 35 kgs. And everyone was like skeptical, fearful about what's happening to me,
Right.
because they don't know what is happening. Right? Understood through a camp, I experienced my inflammation. I've seen
Mm.
benefits through what I'm doing, but others were not able to see that. So initially, they were into pain. They were worried so much, but later they started seeing me stable. They started seeing me sleep better, move around, take care of myself, engaging back into work, contributing to other people's lives. Then started understanding it. Even now, they don't agree to what I do,
Mm.
but they know what I am doing is working for me. What I am doing is right. But because of their habitual patterns, they cannot integrate all the practices.
Imagine, Vinodji, that if you had a regular potluck, let's say at your
Mm-mm.
home or
Mm-mm.
where your family is, and that
Yes.
potluck was full of people who eat healthy
Yes.
or raw vegan or
Yes. Yes.
fruitarian or however you want to put it.
Yes.
So, if you had a community that
Mm-mm.
constantly gave them that positive
Yes.
feedback and
Yes.
to
Yes.
give you that support structure, how would
Yes.
that affect your family's
No,
response?
it can say like of their lifestyle is already changed.
Hmm.
They're doing much better than what they used to be. But only thing is they cannot go deep into the philosophy of nature cure. They cannot have the trust towards body's innate healing potential. They still hold on to the taking medicinal support system. Otherwise, there is a greater transformation. They also go for sunbathing. They also do practice pranayama. They take a lot of vegetables. They take a lot of fruits. They fast at times. Because of having the community, they are able to see it more clearly. They are able to listen to stories of health and healing, and it impacted them in a
I
very
see.
subliminal level, in a very subtle level.
So, in that if they were positively impacted by that,
Mm, mm,
can you
mm.
identify some negative impacts that they're subject to for which they regress back to the old ways?
It was a lot of trust or trust about the body's intelligence, which is not. Moment pain started surfacing, the fear also gets triggered, and they lose in touch with the experiences, positive experience they had in their past. So being fear as a driving force, they surrendered to help of the times, but they return back to some extent. They again embrace lifestyle, relatively healthy lifestyle.
I see. Well, with the extensive experience that you have serving
Mm.
thousands of people, what are
Mm.
the core principles or fundamental practices that you teach to help individuals heal gracefully and live
Yes.
optimally in all areas of
Yes.
life?
Yes. Very first nature cure camp, I learned these five principles of healing: exercise, adequate rest, positive fivefold food, positive mind, creative and productive occupation for the benefit of others. Even though I learned all these five principles, I was holding on to the dietary part of nature cure. Eating a lot of fruits, a lot of vegetable salads, fasting. These are the principles I was holding on to it strongly.
Right.
But after some time, after a few years of my journey, I started resonating more with the subtler aspects of feeling, which is the mind, intellect, and ego, and creative occupation. So I started feeling more resonated because I was able to make considerable progress in my health. At some point, I started feeling stagnant. At that point, I was still carrying stress. I was still holding on to a lot of perceptions which were creating stress in me. My ego was gross at that time. I was still holding on to my own rigid ideas, and mind is not. The emotions are not balanced. It is not positive, and I was also not perceiving something meaningful. I was not having that sense of fulfillment, meaning on a daily basis. Then I started picking that my own principle. I started working more into it. I started working on relaxing my ego self, my strong ideas, and more open and curious. Worked on my emotional baggages. I was carrying a lot of baggage, regret about the past experiences. I was carrying guilt. I was not forgiving
Hmm.
people. I was working on those layers, and then I came back to love, acceptance, and self forgiveness. That changed a lot of things in me, and I also like helping people in their own health and well-being journey, and that gave me deeper sense of fulfillment. I was able to still go back to a moment where I was continuing my software consulting career, And every 30 minutes I used to get out and then move around, relax, rest, and do all those things. Then at some point I had a conversation with one of my mentor. He said, if this is stressing me so much, why not you pursue nature cure or holistic health sciences? Then I just started experimenting that, and then I offered a session to a small group of people, and I was sitting in the same place for 4 continuous hours without any pain, without any. I was asking myself, how come this happens? Till yesterday, I was not able to sit even for 30 minutes, but today I'm able to sit for 4 hours. So there is a massive shift in the healing, the body's healing ability. Then this becomes one of my guiding principles. So how I help my help my clients, I start with the subtle aspects of healing. I help them work on their emotional baggages. I help them balance their perceptions, work on their the thoughts and the way they look at the narrative they have around life. I also help them to pursue something meaningful on a daily basis. Whatever is meaningful for them, I make them pursue that. From there, take them to diet, take them to the other lifestyle practices.
That's actually very excellent. I think that what you said about love, forgiveness, and letting go of the negative past experiences is easier than said than done. It is a process, and I like the way that you're approaching this. Instead of just telling people something robotic or mechanical, eat this, get that result, you're actually first addressing the deeper aspects.
Yes.
And then once that's done, then it's easier for people to adopt a healthier lifestyle.
Yes. There is one more narrative I work on. I already shared that narrative. I make them see the pain as the advantage, as a leverage. So when people come to for healing or becoming healthier, work on their health condition, they always have this narrative: I should get rid of this pain. I should cure myself. But this pain is actually teaching us a lot of things. This pain is actually helping us to align in a better way. Change. This pain is helping us sleep better. This pain is helping us to manage our stress. This pain is teaching us a lot of things which we are not aware of till that point. So I get them to ground themselves in turning this pain as an advantage. How can you use this pain to change your diet, to change your lifestyle, to become more forgiving, to bring back the love, and to do the most meaningful things in life? So then what happens is, it is not about chasing that condition. It is not about fighting with that condition. It is about embracing health and well-being. How can I become little more healthier and little more happier today? So the journey is very different now, and this has impacted them in a very like I can see a lot of changes when they pick up this narrative, turning the pain into an advantage.
I see. What do you do with people who are self-destructive? There are people who have been influenced towards certain vices like smoking, drinking, drugs, tambaku, etc. When they approach you with these one-liners, we're not going to live forever, those kinds of things. How do you deal with those kinds of patients?
I'll first look for inspirations from people. Like I'll ask them, or I'll sit with them, listen to them for longer periods of time, and there will be one pivotal point which makes them live longer. Like for example, they want to live for the child, they want to live for the mother, they want to live for the partner, something like that will be there. Or they have something which is not fulfilled, like they want to go on a trek, like something like that, they want to launch a company. There is one ray of hope everyone carries, even though they are self-destructive 99%, because of lot of their situations or their own emotional baggages. They get into those self-destructive patterns, but they still have one ray of hope, one possibility towards getting better. I listen to them for as long as possible. Like sometimes I take multiple sessions. I listen to them for multiple sessions, and then I'll find their one reason for them to become little more healthier, little more happier, little more healed self. Then I use that as an anchor to them. So I use that as an anchor, and then I help them work on their patterns, unconscious patterns. Why they get into addictions? Because they are not skilled enough to face the pain. They are not skilled enough to face the emotional baggage. When they sit without an addiction, all these thoughts coming to them, all these emotions start surfacing, which they are not able to deal with. Then I help them develop that ability to deal with their emotional baggages. I teach them tools. I sit with them, process them, make it subtler. Then they become little more confident. And once they start tasting that meaning, fulfillment, or the reason for living, then it is their journey. I don't need to tell them what to do. They keep coming back and then asking, what should I do?
Very good
So
point.
the ball is
So,
in their court. It is
yeah,
not that we them to do anything. They asking, how can I align? How can I become healthier? How can I pain?
I see. So that humility has to come from them first.
Yes.
So, folks listening, that is the key. Talking to Vinodji, asking these types of questions shows the expertise of a skilled health coach versus an inexperienced one. Think about the typical doctor's visit. They'll take your vitals, spend less than 2 minutes, prescribe a bunch of things that's correlated in their standard of care to whatever symptoms that you talked about. That's about it. AI can do that, a monkey can do that job. But to really get to know your patient heart to heart, spending that time, that's the skill of a healer. So, Vinodji, I understand you've served around 10,000 people over a span of 9 years. That's an incredible accomplishment. Can you tell us about that?
Yes. Started Dr. Arun Sharma. Like I started assisting him in his camps. Started tracking the thing. Like I started updating the tracker, listening to the challenges, all those things I used to do. At some point, like other times, right? Arun Sharma comes to India only for fewer months. Then I started establishing my own practice. As I said earlier, I started teaching about food and health. That was my first workshop. I was not confident enough to teach the complete nature cure in the beginning of my journey, but I got benefited through the changes in diet. I personally got benefited, so I wanted to share that information to others. I was not confident in terms. I was not seeing myself as a trainer. I was not seeing myself as a coach or mentor. And I used to be an introvert. I don't speak to people easily. I don't connect to people easily. But this experience which I got by changing the diet, how my health is getting better, has been my driving force to share this value to others. Then I started moving, traveling to different places. I started receiving opportunities to come and address their organization, come and address their community. That is how it started. Teaching for some time, I started getting one-on-one consultations, one-on-one about asking for supporting their own healing journey. Then I started getting into that. I started programs like 3 months, 6 months program, which I call it as mentorship programs. Like my journey started with teaching, but slowly, what happens was after learning all the principles, all the concepts, when they go back to their house, when they go back to their existing environment, they had struggles in integrating that. They keep going back to their older lifestyle. They keep going back to their older patterns. So that is where I started designing mentorship programs. Currently, I focus on offering mentorship programs and retreats where I hold
Hmm.
hands of people for longer periods of time, 3 months, 6 year, 1 year, even for 2 years, and then slowly help them transform their health and well-being. When I say health and well-being, I help them transform in every aspect of their life. Like address stress, we can work on stress, but if the area of their life is not is still strainful, assume there is a relationship conflict which is unaddressed,
Hmm.
whatever we do to address stress is not going to help them in a longer run. So I also help people to work on the relationship and then bring back love and harmony in the relationship. I also help them to grow in their career. So I offer holistic mentorship which is rooted on nature cure but extended in every aspect of life. The basic principles are same, but I use it for well-being and life coaching. So that is how I currently
So,
operate.
the broader wellness landscape and
Mm.
considering the principles of nature cure, could we
Yes.
apply these concepts to
Mm.
us as an organization? What are
Mm.
your thoughts on that?
No, we should. I think Akarma has done a very good job. Learned food and health in the beginning. Then we had level 2 camps where we introduced about subtler aspects of healing. Then Akarma, as a community, they introduced us to holistic wellness. So that was a beautiful turning point. Till that point, it was meditating and addressing the stress. It was practicing deep breathing and addressing stress. Then we came across this newer perspective, evolving in the painful aspects of life,
Hmm.
evolving in relationship, evolving in parenting, evolving in career, evolving in finances, is also a longer solution for not having that stress, to have that stability, right? To feel anchor as in relaxed state. So Akarma has introduced us to those lines. I think it is a very important factor because people who retreats come for the camps, even though they come and talk about the physical health challenges, when they sit and then listen to them, there are a lot of other challenges. I still
Hmm.
remember one moment where Dr. Arun Sharma had a consultation in Hyderabad. I was assisting him in the consultation. The woman who is crying. She came for some health challenges, but she started crying. Dr. Arun Sharma was compassionately listening to her. She started talking about her relationship issues. She started sharing about not having a child. If you're not addressing those areas, if you're not helping them to have a child, helping them to bring in harmony and love in the relationship, whatever we are doing is not going to be sustainable for them. They will definitely feel little more healthier, but there is not a bigger breakthrough. So by sitting with him and through consultations, we understand health doesn't have to be very straightforward like try changing lifestyle. It can also be changing occupation. It can also be making someone to draw, making someone to tap into their own creative expression, making someone to sing can also heal them, making someone to grow in their career can also heal them. So we have seen that in many cases they work on a particular aspect of their life and their physical health drastically improves. I think one of the person is also commenting in the chat such case studies.
So you know, person
Yes, his name is
Mullah.
Muralidhar Mullah. Was also like on something meaningful, and then his skin issue got into remission.
Oh wow.
He had there was one person who worked on the parenting, and the shoulder pain got better. There is a person who worked on their mother-in-law conflict, and then their collarbone pain got reversed.
Oh.
We have in the modern science we have the fascia, right? There is a memory muscle holds on to, and what holds on to that memory? Stress. What is the cause of stress? A unresolved emotional baggage. There
Right.
can be a anger about someone. There can be a unforgiveness about someone. There can be guilt or regret about a particular thing. There can be grief for longer periods of time. A lot of those things will stay as a muscle memory, and we keep holding on to that function. And there is a poor circulation, a constant pain. So when we work on these layers, that part starts to relax. There is a better circulation there. The elimination gets better. The organ starts functioning better. There are a lot of holistic practice who talk is exclusively around that. But I just whatever little I know, I just shared it.
Appreciate that. My question is really about us as an organization
Yes.
or as a community. As I mentioned at the start, many of these decisions that is being made on our behalf is not being made by us. It's being made by a profit model. Marketing companies and their huge advertising, billions of dollars being poured into it to convince the average person of all the wrong decisions and acceptance of a very destructive kind of a lifestyle. So my question about the nature cure and natural health science applying to other aspects of
Yes.
our lives is a more so an example of that would be in through camps and these kinds of things an individual can be taught to take better care of themselves.
Yes.
But individuals make soldiers, and soldiers don't win battles. They're armies that do win battles. So how can we come together as an organization and make soldiers into an army? Even if you have an army of weak people versus one that are strong, that is still not going to work out for army is going to always be stronger. The collective is going to be stronger than the individual. So what are some of ways we can apply some of these principles? Even as a software developer, you've had that I'm sure you've had that experience of scaling systems. So that's kind of because it seems to me that the way that you think about things, you consider things more than the superficial layer. You like to delve deep.
Yes.
So that's why I'm asking you this question. What are your thoughts on that?
No, the cure, I think, as when someone perceives nature cure, they perceive it as a healing science. Yes, it is a healing science, but if you can position it as a science through which they can solve any challenge in their problem in their life, that will help us attract a broader community around us, right? And the second thing which we can do is deliver deliver a lot of mentorship programs, because concepts is one thing. Knows concepts nowadays. Everyone knows all the principles, concepts. A lot of people know it from social media, other things. But facilitating transformations, making someone move from a painful state to a blissful state. When we facilitate such transformations, that one person is capable enough of transforming thousands and thousands of people. Like we have level 1 programs, level 2 programs. If you can create 6 months, 1 year transformational programs where we handle people into transformations in every aspect of their life, then I think that is going to be a massive shift, because a person who tasted that will not be able to stop himself. Just like me, I'll not be able to stop myself. I cannot go back to my old job. I cannot go back to my older career. It has been 9 months. I have struggled a lot financially the initial years of my career in this career, nature cure wellness practitioner career, but I never thought of going back to the older job or older career choice, because whatever transformation I received, I really wanted to give it to more and more people, right? So I think we should, as a community, we should focus on facilitating. We should definitely continue to run level 1, level 2 programs and exclusive around hydrotherapy, sunbathing, and all those things. Those are going to give them enough knowledge to all these people. And we should also take at least 100 people every year and then put them into a transformational journey, make them move from point. There is something called hero's journey framework, right, by Joseph Campbell. Like a person who is in extreme pain, right, that person has a greater possibility to move towards the opposite, extreme bliss. So if we can tap into that possibility, every person who is going to reach that point is going to take care of another 1,000 people, another 10,000 people in their life, and together we can transform a lot of people. So I think that is what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do at least take 100 people in every year, but as a community we can take lot more number, 100,000 and 10,000 people we can handle as a community. So with that, I think we'll be able to change a lot of things.
So is that how you reach that 10,000 mark
Yes,
with the
yes,
patients, by taking
yes.
on a whole
So I
communities?
don't call them as passions. I had teaching programs where there will be huge crowd, 100,000 people, and there is also like workshops where I have 40 to 100 people. Then I have mentorship programs. Mentorship program is limited because we need to pay individual attention to everyone in mentorship program. So the
That's true.
maximum size of mentorship program is 100 per year. Beyond that, I will not be able to handle. But as a community, all of us can handle 50 to 100 people. We have a lot of people in our community, and together we can handle 5,000 people into transformation. We'll map their present pains, and then we'll create a journey for them, exclusive personalized journey for them, where they reach the exact opposite. If there is a health issue, they will reach a healthier state in the next 6 months, 1 year. If there is a relationship conflict, they will reach to a harmonious state in the next 6 months, 1 year, or they will let it go gracefully. So
Right.
we can create such transformations, and that is going to be our biggest
So
support
in
system.
your camps or in your treatment plans, how do you
Hmm.
chart the journey of progress? Do you take measurements? Do you take tests? How do you show that there has been marked improvement?
Um, so I like to integrate the scientific ways of measuring as well in the future. But
Mhm.
so far, it is more of verbal testimonials or lived experience. They come back and then share. So talking to few people, like how can we measure this scientifically? Like the few parameters which we can measure, ESR, CRP, blood
Mhm.
diagnostic, all those things we can. The few parameters I've not gone deep into that.
Right.
It is mostly the testimonial which I used to receive from my clients. But going forward, I am trying to integrate the scientific ways to measure it and then show it to the world. This is also possible, and work through these kind of and lifestyle practices. The one challenge we have is as a community, it usual work on it is the primary question I keep having, because when we prescribe medicine, it is straightforward, right? You eat, just pop the pill. But now it is you need to spend 2 hours at least every single day to work on these practices, to take sunbathing, to practice deep breathing, to work on your to keep releasing your emotional baggages. So this part is their responsibility. We can create an accountability system through which we can monitor them, encourage them, inspire them, create deep work spaces. Every weekend I create deep work spaces at least for 3 hours. So I make them sit for 3 hours, work on whatever they want to work around the self care. That is one thing I do, but I want to create it. I like to create it every single day. If you can create deep work sessions, undistracted sessions towards care of themselves, that might help.
Fantastic. What an incredibly insightful and empowering conversation we've had today. Deepest gratitude to Vinodji for coming and sharing your
Thank you,
experience
Vinod.
with us. I'd like to bring in our next guest.
Thank you, Vinod.
Um,
Thanks for this opportunity.
Thank
Thank you.
you, Vinodji. Second. Thank you for being patient with us while we work out our issues. I'd like to introduce Dr. Singh, who's a health educator based in Ontario, Canada, and the author of Advanced Nutrition Therapy: Goodbye Drugs and Diseases. He discovered the healing power of natural foods after reversing his own major health issues. He has dedicated his life to helping others reverse chronic, so-called incurable conditions. Dr. Kamalpreet, in our podcast, we love to feature prominent personalities in the natural health space so that we explore the profound principles of natural hygiene, drugless healing, and the body's incredible vital economy. Before we begin, due to rampant online censorship, we must include the message that in this show we do not give medical advice. We are only discussing topics from our personal perspectives. We're not telling anyone to go and do anything or not do anything. So with that disclaimer out of the way, I would like to start with Dr. Kamalpreet Singh. Could you tell us a little bit about your background and upbringing?
Yes, for sure. So I grew up in Gurgaon, which is a town close to New Delhi, which is the capital of India. And then I graduated in commerce.
Wow.
So that's how I started, and my aim was to become a businessman. And so I moved to Canada. I did my postgrad in human resources over here. But then I found myself struggling with health issues, which were continuously growing since my childhood, which was actually constipation, was gas and thinness and liver issues. And there's a host of other issues that I was facing, which compelled me to start looking in natural healing. So I tried various things. Initially, when I was in my college, I used to try allopathy and homeopathy and Ayurveda and also various other things I tried to fix my health. But honestly, that didn't work on me. And so at last, I was looking for answers. How can I solve my health issues? And here's when natural hygiene, nutrition, and diet comes into play. So in 2020, I was looking deeply into nutrition and natural hygiene. So I came across books of mucusless diet system, which is by Arnold Arad, which is probably the Bible of the natural science movement in the Northern America. And I also came across Swaminathan, it's Swaminathan, who wrote the book that's Science of Natural Hygiene. And then I went to various fasting centers. I went to Tanglewood Wellness Center, which is run by Lauren Lockman, and I did water fasting over there. Then I went to Dr. Douglas Graham, who is another raw vegan. And these are four of my mentors that I personally followed to improve my health. So this is with my healing journey. But if you go towards my background in nutrition, or at the same time, simultaneously, I was doing various courses in nutrition and included writing research papers. So I have written about 10 research papers by now, which have been published in international medical journals. And I've shown how people can heal themselves. Especially my specialization is with diabetes remission. So what diabetes remission is, that you can achieve a non-diabetic glucose level without using pharmacological therapy, that is insulin and metformin drugs and other glucose lowering drugs. So I wrote those research papers, and based on that, I received a doctorate in my nutritional biochemistry, specializing in metabolic health and showing how we can reverse diabetes. And I'm well known for being the author of the Vaccine Crime Report. I'm sure you would have seen this book. And this book is one of the best sellers in epidemiology in India, Amazon India. And people have been reading this. We have sold more than 10,000 copies now. And people are getting aware about what vaccines are and what they're made up of, what can be the long-term consequences. So initially, we were being dismissed whenever we talked about vaccines. They would dismiss it as like you are against science and all those things. And you would say, oh, you are a natural healer or a natural hygienist. You don't know things. But this book is compiled with evidences from peer-reviewed medical journals. So if someone would read this book, I'm pretty much sure they would not be vaccinating their children.
What would be one of the strongest arguments against vaccines?
The strongest argument against the vaccines, in my opinion, is not an actual argument, but is the question that we put towards those who present vaccines as safe and effective. We would ask them, what is the scientific evidence that demonstrates vaccine to be safe and effective? Now, they would say there's a mountain of evidence and we have thousands of studies and we have a plethora of Pandora box of evidence that vaccines are safe and effective. But when Aaron Siri, on behalf of I Can Decide, sued CDC and demanded the evidence, the studies that show that vaccines injected to newborn children before 6 months of age do not cause autism, and CDC had no study to show, and that's the thing.
So you're talking about those FOIA requests from ICANN, RFK's organization.
Right. So there's no placebo-controlled trial to demonstrate that the vaccinated group does better than the control group that receives a true, pure saline placebo. And you know what? Actually, they never did a pure placebo test because they always use another vaccine as a placebo, which is a fake placebo, because a placebo has to be an inert substance, which means it does not harm in any form and its safety has already been tested. So this is the strongest point that I've seen so far, which has no answers that can be. But there's one problem. So when you put this information in ChatGPT or Grok or any AI, that would say, oh, we have done the placebo-controlled trials in the 1980s and they have been proven safe, and now we can't run a placebo-controlled trial because it's unethical to do that. But where's the first placebo control that was done? And it's not there.
I actually had a back and forth with Gemini and Claude, where they both back down in the end because they really don't have, they're basically just repeating what the quote-unquote the popular consensus are, right? But I love the answer, the way you phrased it, that the onus of proof is in the one who is making the positive claim, not the negative claim. You can't prove a negative, but before you inject something into your body, you have to start with proving that it is safe and effective. And that's where the questions should start, not prove it isn't safe or effective. That's brilliant. As far as the research you've done with the vaccines, what started that journey?
Yes, that's the COVID pandemic. I would say the pandemic, which was planned in advance. We know, right? Bill Gates announced it in 2014. Then that if we develop good vaccines, we do good work on the healthcare, we can reduce the world population by 10 to 15%. And so do you ever think, like, if we develop good vaccines, should the population increase or it should decrease? I mean, come on. That's where I started trying to wrap my head around, like, this guy is going to do something wrong. And then I came across the video of Anthony Fauci in 2017. I think it was 2017 when he said there would be a surprise outbreak, and it happened in 2020. And then I came across Dr. Bishwaroop Roy Chaudhary, as we discussed before. He also said that this pandemic is not a real medical pandemic. And then I formed a team that started interviewing all the medical doctors and scientists of those who were giving alternative views to what's being shown in the mainstream. And like Gary Medey, Dr. Jeffrey Bark, that's a medical doctor in the US, and Frontline Doctors, Gold, and World Doctors Alliance. I started interviewing these doctors, and at the same time, I started reading books on vaccines. And I also had some friends and some senior members in the community who already knew the truth of vaccines, and they explained me the ingredients of the vaccine, like the vaccines contain, which I've also mentioned in the vaccine crime report. So when I got to know that vaccines contain all of these, so I would read some of them. So when I got to know that vaccines contain aluminum, glyphosate, formaldehyde, glutaldehyde, thimerosal, polysorbate, pork gelatin, human albumin, fetal bovine serum, monkey kidney cells, aborted human fetal cells, neomycin, urea, animal DNA, egg protein, yeast protein, chicken protein, potassium chloride, potassium phosphate, sodium borate, sodium hydroxide, sodium phosphate. And I had a background in natural hygiene. And I was like, doesn't make sense to me. I mean, it looks toxic, filthy, disgusting, and harmful. How can this promote health? And that's when I woke up to the vaccine agenda. I started researching and reading thousands of studies on vaccine science. And that's when I compiled the vaccine crime report.
So that's where I would like to actually start with, Dr. Kamalpreet. Is your background in natural hygiene? When did that start?
That started in 2019 when I started looking for answers for my own health.
I see. Okay. That, what was your views on vaccines or Western medicine in general?
Yes, in general, my trust was more on natural healing and Ayurveda, but I knew that modern medicine had a role in the society. It would do what the herbs can do. And vaccines in general, I used to believe, yes, they have eradicated polio and measles and mumps and rubella and smallpox and all those diseases that we were threatened that would be life threatening. But after COVID pandemic, it was disappeared like clouds.
Can you tell us anything about the moving goalpost when it comes to what a pandemic actually means?
So initially they said that the pandemic should be like the rate of transfer of the virus should be like it should be contagious. And plus the definition was that it would have caused severe fatality. There would be multiple deaths, thousands, hundreds and thousands to be called a pandemic. But then they removed the fatality point and they just started saying that the cases, if there are more cases, that would be a pandemic. So just being a case should not be considered a pandemic because they're also labeling asymptomatic people as cases. So everyone is literally asymptomatic right now. So we are not cases, we are healthy individuals. So they just statistically manipulated and created which was not a real pandemic. Yes.
I see. What about your family? When you were brought up, were they medical proponents or were they also natural hygienists?
Well, the trust on the allopathic system was not high, but when Ayurveda didn't work on their health conditions, they used to take the allopathy medications and go through the hospital system. But my father had serious problems with his liver, which actually never resolved with any of the pathies. And so when I got to know about natural hygiene in 2019, I started sharing things with him. He started following some of the principles like eating more fruit and less of dairy and less of ultra processed food. He started feeling better, but he has not like resolved his issues, which have been since I think 4 decades now. Yes.
4 decades. Wow.
Yeah.
Before we head on further, so you've gone into the conspiracy rabbit hole, like they like to say. Before we go further down that, I wanted to know a little bit more about your research paper. I understand it has to do with diabetes.
Yes, that's right. It's in diabetes. The subjects are sometimes it's case reports, sometimes it's case series of patients who have reversed diabetes, basically achieved diabetes remission through a whole food plant-based diet. And there are some researches on retrospective observational studies of going on an all fruit diet, which means you eat fruit in breakfast, fruit in lunch, fruit in evening, and then some fruity vegetables in the evening as a like dinner fruit. So this is a very interesting thing. So like at the festival of Navratri in India, if you know about that.
Yeah.
So in Navratri, people fast for about 9 days. So in India, they have different practices of fasting, different ways. They would eat sabudana or something they would consider light. But I had some of my clients who wanted to fast. Then I told them, don't fast the traditional way. Do it my way, the natural hygienist way, the fruit way. We created a protocol in which we asked our clients to eat fruit in breakfast, as much as they want, fruit in lunch, fruit in the evening, and then some fruity vegetables as a salad. So that was just and like kind of like just told them that this would help them because based on my research so far, that all the research on fruit has been beneficial. There's no research that says fruit is harmful for diabetics. So my clients, they did it for like days, and we were astonished when their blood glucose readings were even better compared to like starting that fruit diet.
Oh.
And I was like, my God, eating fruit in breakfast, fruit in lunch, fruit in evening, as much as you want, and you're improving your blood glucose levels. Wow, this deserves a place in the scientific community. So I got it published. Yeah.
But Biswarup ji also mentions the DIP diet where he uses fruits, I believe a full meal of fruits, and claims that diabetes reversal. Have you collaborated with him or his team?
Yes, I have also collaborated with him, and he's also one of my mentors because I have learned a lot of things from him. I've even done that he teaches the medical nutrition and other like medication. So with the DIP diet, I have seen phenomenal results. I mean, put someone on a DIP diet compared to a conventional diet, he starts improving. His blood glucose starts getting better. The blood pressure starts improving. Cholesterol starts normalizing. You start losing extra fat that you have, and there are other benefits too. But again, with the natural hygiene principles, we know that if you move from worse to good and to better and to the best, there's always scope for improvement. So the DIP diet would be like a good diet to start from, and then you need to build upon how the client is, how his body is responding.
I see. So you would recommend the fruitarian diet as a better than the DIP diet?
So so here's the thing. Dr. Bishwarup Roy Chaudhary calls disciplined and intelligent people's diet as the DIP diet.
That's right.
So disciplined and intelligent people. Now he has divided it into one, stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4, like 5 forms of DIP diet. So the first stage is the standard protocol to eat your fruits in the breakfast, the salad and your plant-based meal in the lunch, and the salad and the plant-based meal in the dinner. Now, then there's the stage 2. Now, what's the stage 2? You remove the cooked food from the lunch and just eat salad in your lunch.
Okay.
Then there's the stage 3 DIP diet, which is basically 100% raw food.
Right.
So it's kind of, the fruitarian diet is similar to what's the 100% raw DIP diet. So yes, I would consider a 100% raw fruit-based diet superior to the stage 1 DIP diet. Yes.
Okay. You've done this research over how much of a period of time have you done this research?
It's been 7 years now, like been 7 years. Like
No,
2019.
that's not what I meant. I didn't mean that. How long ago did you do the research? Your research study. What was the duration of the study itself?
Yes, duration of study for the fruit fast was 9 days. So it was the 9-day study in which we saw how the blood glucose levels improved on the 9-day period. So it was, I remember correct, it was 1 millimoles per liter improvement. I think 0.92 or something close to that millimoles per liter improvement in the fasting blood glucose to translate to something around 15 milligram per deciliter. 16, yeah.
The standard is what, below 7 millimoles per deciliter would be safe? Is that non-diabetic?
Are you asking for the fasting blood glucose?
Yeah.
For the fasting,
Six.
yeah.
So the fasting blood glucose, isn't there like a dawn phenomenon which naturally raises about 50% of the people's blood glucose over that 7 millimoles per deciliter?
Yes, if someone has like a reduced insulin sensitivity, then it would go above 7. But if someone is a healthy, his insulin is sensitive, I think dawn phenomenon can be handled well and it would still remain below 6. Yes.
Okay. In that 9-day study, what was the size of your cohort?
The size of the cohort was 50, I think 51, because we ran 4 such studies in 2024, then 2025, and 2026. And I think we did 2 in 2025. So it was close to 40 to 50 in those years.
Wow. So even Dr. Biswarup himself, he has a fairly larger cohort than that we could have tested with, huh?
Are you talking about the DIP diet?
No, the diet that you're proposing, the fruitarian diet.
I'm not sure how many people were in the DIP diet trial. Trial that Ayush did for the DIP diet. I'm not sure. Do you know about that?
I'm not sure about the numbers either. In his cohort is a fairly large sample, and I'm wondering if there is any scope of you proposing that to him and then working together on that research to see that if fruitarian one is superior to the raw vegan, let's say.
Yeah, I can ask him. Yeah.
There been any concerns raised about the fruitarian diet?
So here's the thing. First, we need to understand what the fruitarian diet is, right? So there are so many definitions for that. Some people would say if you eat 90% of your calories from fruit, you're a fruitarian. Someone would say if you eat only fruits, you're a fruitarian. And someone would say if you eat fruity vegetables, which are fruits like seeds with the covering of flesh around it, and that's okra and cucumbers and tomatoes and your bell peppers, and you're still a fruitarian. So it depends on like definition of fruitarian are we trying to understand.
Okay.
Yes.
And in your study, in your research, which definition did you go with?
We went with the in the breakfast, fruit in the lunch, fruit in the dinner, and fruity vegetables in the dinner. So this is the one that we use. In this of the with the peer reviewers was the less amount of protein, and the other concern was with acids. So that what they raised, but because it was my standpoint of natural hygiene, so I knew as a hygienist, which I've seen in the mucusless diet system, that high protein diet actually isn't a great diet because it creates acidic waste which the kidney has to filter out, and so it slows down the recovery process because filtration of the acids demand energy, and we are trying to conserve energy. It's not just about the nutrition and the RDAs, but also the conservation of energy that would actually heal people. It's not just the numbers theoretically.
Okay. We're really interested in doing a side-by-side, maybe research analysis on strictly fruit. And again, when you say fruit and you say fruity vegetables, you're talking about things that people commonly refer to as vegetables like cucumbers, but that are botanically classified as fruits. Is that what you mean?
Right.
Okay. Not necessarily a fruitarian diet. It is basically a raw vegan diet.
Yes, you can call it a raw vegan, but if you go by the definition that my 90% of calories come from fruit, so it's a fruitarian diet.
Got
And
it.
so it's kind of mixed. Raw vegan and fruitarianism is very close.
Got it. So do you also include nuts?
My clients during those 9 days protocols, I don't allow nuts because again, they're concentrated fats. And in the 80-10 diet, what the Dr. Douglas Graham recommends, he says that if you go beyond like a certain percentage of fat, delivery of insulin, delivery of glucose and its coordination with insulin slows down, and as a result, you might not achieve the benefits that you're trying to achieve. Yes.
I see. And what about follow-ups with the patient after those 9 days?
Yeah, so usually the clients that are recommended to do the fruit fasting during those 9 days are not recommended out of nowhere. We have already been seeing them for the past 6 months, and they're doing a whole food plant-based diet, which includes grains, beans, legumes, nuts, seeds, and all those things. And then once we feel that they are fit enough to do a 9-day fruit fast, we would allow them to do that, and then we switch back to a whole food plant-based diet, and they are doing good. Yes.
So they're not really a randomized study, is it then?
No, it's not a randomized study. No.
Okay. There was already some prep work done ahead of time.
Yes.
Would you be willing to do randomized studies?
Would be happy to do that.
So getting back to the vaccine issue, are you familiar with Robert Magufuli?
No.
He was an African leader. I'm sorry, not Robert. The way that you quantified these natural laws, how do they relate to the protocols?
So we have not been able to quantify those as of now. So I'm going by my experience, what I've seen with my clients, the follow-ups and the feedbacks that I receive. And we do those with the clients. We work together and we see what's working and what's not. So based on that, we make the protocols. But so far, I have not been able to quantify those laws. Maybe in the future, I'll be able to do something about it. But as of now, what I know is that a fruit-based diet is superior to a whole food plant-based diet, which includes a cooked food proponent in it, because several factors actually. So when you have a cooked food diet, there's salt in it, there are spices, and there is oil and ghee and butter. And there's heat involved, which is destroying the nutrients. And then you combine a lot of things, which is making the digestion harder and more complicated to create environment for digestion of things that have been mixed in, like a lot of things have been mixed to it. So a mono fruit diet is definitely superior in that sense, that it's not having salt, it's not spices, no oils in that, no like combinations, and no cooking. So these are the 6 identifiable points that I see that makes a fruitarian or a raw vegan diet with less amounts of nuts superior to a whole food plant-based diet, which also includes cooked food component.
Oh, great. Have you ever heard of Nature Cure or IMANAH or Natural Health Sciences? No? Okay. Busrupji came on our show on the 7th episode, and he's familiar with the family he's been involved in for the last 100 years. And I'd like to invite you to visit our website, imanah.com. My great-grandfather, Lakshmana Sharma, he wrote the definitive book. It's called Practical Nature Cure.
I think I have that book.
Wow.
Is this the book? Let me see. Is this the book?
That's the one. Wow. You have it. That's the one. Yeah. That was written by my great-grandfather.
Yeah, I've been through this book. See, I have the notes.
Wow. It's fantastic. So, Dr. Kamalpreet, this is very exciting that I come across so many prominent figures in the natural health space, and we have the opportunity to kind of together. And this is what the allopaths are known for. They have standardized their systems. Anywhere around the world, you get the similar kind of, and I feel there's a lot of potential for us to work together on these kinds of things.
Yeah, for sure.
So what else can you tell us about the vaccines that you've written about in your book?
About the vaccines, the main thing is about the ingredients. Like, for example, say right now in India, there's a HPV vaccine, that is the human papilloma vaccine drive going on. They're aiming to inject about crore Indian girls with a vaccine, claiming that they would prevent a cancer, cervical cancer. The unfortunate thing is that there's not even a single trial that would prove that it can prevent cancer or reduce the incidence of cancer. But at the same time, if we go through the package insert of Gardasil HPV vaccine, it says that there is 2.3% rate of serious adverse events following immunization. And that's not just simple like effects, it's systemic autoimmune reactions. So it's like arthritis and psoriasis and type 1 diabetes and celiac disease and thyroiditis and all those kinds of disorders, which even I believe Acharya ji, Lakshman Sharma ji has mentioned that sometimes might be irreversible and cannot be cured.
Right.
Here's the thing. So if they inject 1 crore girls with that vaccine and the serious side effect rate is 2.3%, I would assume something close to 2.5 lakh girls in India would be dealing with irreversible autoimmune conditions. And that's because this vaccine contains aluminum, and that's very high amounts of aluminum. And then there's sodium borate in this vaccine, HPV vaccine, which is reproductive toxic, may harm fertility as per European standards, and also contains polysorbate 80, which can lead to anaphylaxis reactions, allergic reactions, and also reproductive toxic. So that's one of the reasons that I joined this show, to bring this information out about the HPV vaccine, because that's a topic for now. And then there are other vaccines, the childhood vaccines, which are routinely injected in our children. Especially, I often speak about the hepatitis B vaccine, which they aim to reduce liver cancer and liver infections. But there's zero placebo-controlled trials to demonstrate if it's safe to inject the children. And now in US and other parts of the world, the autism rates in the children have been increasing. And I suspect injecting children with those vaccines is the main cause. And now Dr. Peter McCullough from the McCullough Foundation has released his report that shows that vaccines is the #1 risk factor for autism development.
Wow. What you mentioned about the placebo-controlled trials, from what I understand, what you mean by that is that we haven't had a truly inert placebo,
Right.
meaning the current standard for what is a placebo is other vaccines. So is that what you mean?
Yes, other vaccines, or they would use the ingredients which are not active, like an antigen, and there's adjuvants, and there are other carrier solutions. So they would use the carrier solution containing, say, polysorbate, around 99, or any kind of that's in a vaccine other than the antigen, and they would call it the placebo. So that is not a real placebo, it's a fake placebo. It's not an inert substance. It has to be an inert substance to be called a real, true placebo. That's what I say that there's no placebo controlled trial.
Are you familiar with that omnibus trial that happened around 2000?
For hepatitis B vaccine?
No, I believe it was for the MMR. They had 5,000 cases of vaccine injuries that they wanted to process all in one shot. Are you familiar with that case?
No.
So what had happened is that apparently the vaccine injury court, which we have in the US, do you have something like that in Canada?
I don't think so.
Here they passed a law that you can't sue vaccine manufacturers. But what you could do is you could take your case to the federal vaccine injury court. And in that injury court, you can plead your case. The lawyers are supplied by the Department of Justice for the other side, not for you, right? So you have to get your own lawyers. And then you have to plead your case. They'll call in experts, etc. So there were thousands of cases that got piled up. I think this was late 90s, early 2000s, around that time frame. When so many cases piled up, the vaccine court said, we're not equipped to handle this many cases. So what they said is that they're going to do an omnibus trial. Omnibus basically means we're going to put it all together as one court case instead of trying 5,000 cases. So they came up with a criteria for what constitutes a win or a loss. So they came up, they said, we're going to try 6 cases out of the 5,000. If we prove that all 6 cases were not due to the vaccines, and this was the autism connection, they said if we prove that all 6 are not caused by the vaccines, then all 5,000 lose their case. But even if one of those cases is proved in favor of the client, then we will pay all 5,000 claims. The first case, they called a witness, an expert witness. This expert witness that they called, the first case, they said, there's no causal link. The second case, the same expert witness, it happens so that the patient or whoever the vaccine injured person was a known person to him, and he couldn't in good conscience say that there's no causal link because he knew the patient. He said he's taken his opinion back. He's reversing his opinion on the second case. So the government attorneys, they said that we're going to take that guy off of our witness list. So they removed him, they fired him. And then they used his testimony off of the first case. On the case number 3, 4, and 5, they paid off the second case. They settled out of court. So they basically said that, well, it doesn't prove it because we settled out of court. So cases 3, 4, and 5, they used the expert testimony from the first one, even though he has changed his mind. It's really worth reading up on. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
And so then they said, okay, won all 6 cases. Therefore, we're not giving these guys anything. And they challenged this court case, and I don't know what happened of it. It was very interesting. Did you watch when Plotkins was deposed?
I did see parts of it, not the full one, yes.
Okay.
But that's significant work that Aaron has done. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've not seen many doctors speak on this in India, especially. Canada, I think it was Dr. Hodgkinson who was doing work with speaking about the vaccines, but then he's now being investigated by the college because
Yeah. They Wakefielded him.
Yeah, right. And are shown as the villains, and the villains are made to be the heroes. Like everything is upside down.
That's true.
And if I want to look in that the 5,000 court cases, like when I look at that,
It's called the Omnibus Vaccine Trial. Abdullah, pull up the link, please, of the Omnibus Vaccine Trial. So in the meantime, how do you language so you don't get banned on the social media?
as of now, I've seen is after what Twitter and Donald Trump won the presidency last year, the censorship has been quite less compared to what it was before. So the period between 2020 to 2025 was extremely hot, and I lost my YouTube channel. It was deleted First, they deleted a few videos and then they deleted my channel. Then my Instagram was shadow banned, and I was doing like a free shopping. So I went to do shopping during the Corona peak pandemic, and I went like I have an exemption. I'm not wearing a face mask. I went with my
Right.
friends. All of us were not wearing masks. So I was teaching in my local languages कि आप भी बिना mask के जा सकते हैं shop में, and it's all allowed and things like those. And
Right.
suddenly I receive a message on Instagram, you have been blocked from using Instagram Live. And then so Instagram Live was stopped, and then they put a shadow ban that my can't reach the public. And then my Facebook was disabled. Even my WhatsApp was disabled because I was teaching people on WhatsApp how to handle like a fun things like those, and don't be scared of coronavirus.
Right.
And so after 2025, what I've seen is the posts that I've been putting are reaching like a big audience. And right now, even if I do not bend my words or I use the right words, still there are no bans that I'm seeing. So I think there's something changed.
Have you been more careful with the words you use?
In terms of like the fact checkers and people like those can detect me, no, I'm not being careful right now.
Wow. Okay. The podcast we did with Barbara O'Neill, we talked about just benign things, couple of things, and we mentioned cancer, and they took down the video. We were very careful. We were trying not to do that. And so I appealed it. They reinstated the video. It went fine. But this is something that is very crucial for us to be careful about. And it's very easy for them to go along banning everybody. The censorship network is just insane nowadays. You had the truckers protest up in Canada, right?
Yeah, the fun way.
And they went after them. They took down their GoFundMe pages. They seized their bank accounts.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And so I know that you're into the New World Order. You write about those kinds of things as well. I'm very much kindred spirits with you in that sense, right? But at the same time, I'm looking at it from a analytical, strategic perspective. Yes, they are doing what they're doing, but what can we do about it? Not from the point of view of we can't brute force them right now. We're in no position to do that. So when you in that kind of a position, what are some of the things that we can do?
So first of all, I think we need to be a bit brave. We need to gather the courage to speak what we know, and informing the public is most important, because you see, if the public is informed, they know what's the truth, their agenda usually fails by itself, because just like said COVID is here and they propagated all through the media, people believe that. But now when they say there's hantavirus and there's like some virus, people have been fooled so much that they know that this could be another plot. So the has failed their other viruses and all those. The more people are awakened, the more information reaches the public, the less agendas would work on them. So information and spreading awareness is very important. And being a role model, like what you're talking about is also important. Like, so many things, viruses and the theories like those. So, but I do my work with natural hygiene. We know it's not the viruses that are causing diseases, it's the terrain that's causing the problems. And when we heal people with that, those people who get healed, they understand, yes, that's correct. My terrain is improving and that's why I'm healing. And this and if people like us start sharing why that's happening, and we inform our clients, we inform the public, share the awareness, it will bring some change. And then independent is, we need to also develop connections with people beyond the social media. Like we need to come together, and that's why they had the lockdowns, because they wanted people to be separated. And if they're separated, it's the only television that's telling them the vision. So we need to have independent connections, and then having some legal knowledge and knowing your rights is important as well. So I think these are some of the things that we need to be focusing on.
So what would you have done differently had you known then what you know now?
In terms
Of how you spread the message so you don't get shadow banned, so you don't get your channels yanked, those kinds of things.
I would have been more cautious and careful that time if I knew that they would be deleting my channel and all those things. So I've used code words. Yes.
That's kind of what I'm getting at, is that way we can develop such a verbiage, some language, some code words on how we can handle the next time this happens. And that's kind of the reason I asked you the question, what can we do about it? Because let's say there are people who like to go out and protest, carry on placards and those kinds of things. That means the damage has already happened, too late. What my strategy is to think about the next time they're going to do this and get prepared for that. So whether it's coded messages and that works proactively, don't wait for the disaster or the crisis to happen. And that's how these guys operate. All they have to do is keep spinning up crises, and all we're going to do is putting out fires. Have a strategy on how to handle us when we go raise our voices or try to speak out. Have you thought about any of the second level, third level kind of strategies?
No. Yeah.
Okay.
There's so much to do on the stage one.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that the way that these guys operate, they're going to keep us in stage one because there's always going to be more than enough to do in stage one. They're just going to keep our hands busy. And sometimes I feel that we just need to reset. We just need to gather our resources and then hit them at a strategy where they're not expecting, or we can get ahead of the curve. What I'm saying is, like, getting at the curve means we strategize from a position where we know what they're going to do because they've done it in the past. It's nothing new. Biswarup ji also mentioned that. Nothing new. They've done this so many times. If you even read some of the papers of Gandhi, he submitted about vaccines, what my great-grandfather has also written. So this is nothing new. It's just a cyclical thing that's going to happen. And so if we learn from history, all the things that have already happened, and then strategize for second and third level. I work with a lot of software developers so we can develop software. A lot of us were connected with like I said before, the National Institute for Naturopathy in India, Ayush Ministry, and SVSI University. A lot of different things. This is where I'm trying to bring us all together, where we can each use our talents to strategize the next crisis they're going to spin out, make plans against that.
Good idea.
Have you heard of the Great Barrington Declaration?
I'm getting foggy now. Yeah, mine's so much spread that, especially with the things like those, that I'm forgetting what I read in the 20s, and then there were so much new things that I read, and I forgot the previous ones, and it's kind of.
There is this during the COVID time, right?
Yeah.
There was a website made called the Great Barrington Declaration, where over 100,000 medical professionals signed a statement that the COVID response was not right.
Not right.
I think it was Dr. Bhattacharya, was Jay Bhattacharya, and then I think he's in one of the top positions now in Trump's administration.
Yeah.
But I don't think he's doing a whole lot in there, So anyway, anything else you would like us to know from your point of view?
About the vaccine, as I always tell people, that always demand answers to the safety questions. Like, if you're making a decision to even buy a car or a house, you would spend like hours and days research, like which one to, and things like those. But if you're injecting something, why are you blindly believing on the people who force a fake pandemic on you for so many years? It's time to question and because I have seen parents with children who have been inflicted with irreversible diseases, and I know that even if I put them on a fruitarian diet, they would heal up to some extent, but there's no complete reversal to it. Especially with type 1 diabetics. Like, I had a year boy in Brampton in Canada. So he had scheduled an appointment with me. And when he took the COVID vaccine, within 2 weeks, he developed type 1 diabetes. And I was like, I don't think I can help this child much now. And prevention is the only thing we can do about it. Even if you go on a whole food plant-based diet or even a fruitarian diet, which is very difficult for an 11-year-old boy to do, there's not much in that case. You have to.
So you're saying that you can't 100% detox, even though you do everything against the toxemia, you still won't be able to 100% reverse it.
Yes, that's what I believe so far. Because even Ms. Acharya ji has written in his book that some of the cases are not reversible because the damage done can be of the irreversible nature, and the irreversible one that's not reversible can't be fixed. But yes, you can minimize the damage. You can do a conventional diet, come on a whole food plant-based diet. You do some fasting in cases where it's possible. You can improve up to some extent, but there's a law of natural hygiene, which is limitation of matter. You can heal as much as it's possible for you to heal. It's not like you can heal unlimited, because the one who didn't inject it in the first place made the right choice, and he's getting the benefit out of it. So it would be like a violation of the karma that he did research and not take the vaccine, so he should be getting the benefit of not taking the toxic product, and the one who took the toxic product now has to bear the consequences of it. And natural hygiene can only help up to some extent it's possible.
Well, how would you respond to someone who says that, for example, the case you mentioned of the 11-year-old boy, that causation is not proved by correlation?
So here's the thing. So that's where, when we studies, and that's where we need placebo controlled trials. And then when there's a placebo controlled trial that would detect the adverse events and the increased rates of autoimmune conditions, and then there would be mechanistic studies to define causation with, and that's how we come to a conclusion. But even a placebo controlled trial has never been performed, and then forget the mechanistic studies. But there have been some studies that have been done which are not robust but still exist, especially with the type 1 diabetes. Like there was a study in 2003 that showed thimerous aluminum can induce autoimmunity. So there's in the study it says vaccines have shown to cause a large number of cases of type 1 diabetes in both a prospective clinical trial as well as animal toxicity studies. So animal toxicity studies is what they're talking about. And the epidemics of type 1 diabetes and autoimmune autism are more likely than not to share the same etiological cause. So basically, it's the autism and type 1 diabetes having the same cause that is triggering the autoimmunity. But we have to have some human studies for confirming these cases, and that can only happen if the authorities do that.
I see. So the thimerosal that you mentioned, it contained mercury, and that was reacting with the aluminum adjuvant. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what the says. Yeah.
I see. From your experience or your background of Sikhi and Guru Granth Sahib, is there any writings that support what we're trying to say?
Yes. There would, if you depth and you start reading Guru Granth Sahib Ji with that question in mind, there would be a lot of them. But I think there's one that says, be foresighted, like manda mool, don't do the wrong thing even at the starting point, because in the long term what you're going to get would be harmful. So it's actually talking about that don't do wrong deeds which would separate you from God, that's Allah and called Vaheguru. So you would be separated to him. But if you see a physical perspective, that would mean that do not make decisions that have wrong outcomes. And even there's verses in that talks about not eating wrong. That's when he says that, and here's the that we are talking about, that would pollute the body and the mind, because body and mind are connected. And if someone is having depression and anxiety, that would produce toxemia in the as well. And if someone has toxemia in the physical body, especially with your gut health, you would be not having those hormones that are important to make you happier in the it's kind of connected. And so even it's in the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, especially when you look at Lakshman Ji's book, he talks about eating sparingly in the state of disease to heal it faster. So he eating like a light fruit lunch and a vegetable based meal in the dinner, which is eating sparingly actually. And Guru Granth Sahib Ji talks about eating like eat little, and that's the path of the yogis. So that's also mentioned in there. Yes.
Fantastic. Yeah, we also teach every action has the immediate and ultimate reaction, or immediate and eventual reaction. So that's what you were talking about earlier when you were saying short term versus long term. Huh? Excellent. Any last words that you would like to share with us?
The last words would be to explore especially with the fruit. Now it's been like almost an now I've been 100% fruit-based, sometimes vegetables, salad-based diet. But mostly, I'm eating fruits, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I've solved completely, and no cooking, of course. So I have seen the benefits myself. I didn't. I do it initially, but then I said to my, okay, these guys, these books, and about raw food diet, 100 diet, and it's worth giving a shot. And when I give that shot, I know it's hard, especially with the cravings and the old habits start coming in front of you, and your family and their social circles start talking about it, and you have to yourself. But now when they ask me, are you looking to go back to where you started? Are you looking to eat those foods that you used to eat? And I'm like, I don't see any reason why I should go back to my old food. I mean, like, I'm feeling the best of my life so far. So I people to open up to new ideas, learn about them, practice them, and see if value and something to benefit for you, and make the right choices, because those choices are going to determine the outcomes that you have. Mhm.
So when you say fruitarian, do you also mean including fruity vegetables
Yeah.
and also nuts?
If I'm traveling and I have finished all my stocks of fruit, I might eat some nuts as the last resort, but usually I wouldn't eat them on daily basis.
Okay, so I have one concern from a dentist about the teeth, effects on the teeth from a fruitarian diet. Have you heard anything like that?
Well, I have heard about that, but I haven't seen it so far with me.
Oh, okay. So
and
that's
and and,
from a,
and yes, doctor. And when I have my coaches, like especially with Dr. Abraham and Lauren Lockman, who are like a long-term experience now, eating, like it's been 40 50 years now they have been doing it, and they have been like excellent health, dental and physical. So I don't think there should be a problem unless there are pre-existing conditions which need healing through fasting maybe, or they would be out on the fruity vegetables, which I think should be occasionally, if not regularly. But that gives like non like there are some minerals which are present in the vegetables, the fruity which are less in the fruits. So that's why when someone's on 100% fruit, they usually have a craving for like a savory kind of meal, which probably is why I think fruity vegetables should be included in the meals, and the green
okay.
leaves like lettuce.
What about carrots, radish, root vegetables?
So I usually do not eat them because it's a personal preference. But
Mhm.
I mean, like clients, if they want to have that, that's fine. I think that is okay with that too. But Lauren Lockman, the one who has supervised the most of water fast, like extended water fast, he would say do not go for carrots and beets, anything that grows below the soil. But I don't think. I mean, like it's the ideal and the optimal one, but still, that's having minerals, especially with the vitamin A's that the carrots provide. Mhm.
Okay. Would you ever be interested in participating in a debate platform regarding the research papers that you've done or the topics covered in them, as well as the books that you've written, or even your lifestyle choices?
Debates with whom?
People obviously who are gonna have an opposing view from you.
I don't mind doing that, but usually my not debating about my lifestyle choices and food choices. It's more about practice. You practice, experience, and see how you feel that. So when someone tells me that they did a carnivore diet and they started feeling that better, I would say, oh, if you're feeling that's great, but when you stop feeling better on the carnivore diet, come to me. I'll let you know how you can still feel better.
Right. No, that I can understand. I mean, like, it's get online and preach from a soapbox, from the. There has to be some mechanism to challenge whatever we say. If we have that mechanism, that's one of the things we're putting together with the IMANAH website as well as the Discord server, is a debate platform. And when I say debate, I don't mean something that is like what you hear on news channels, everybody shouting, 10 people in the panel, that's not what I mean. I mean a properly debate where we're going to have rational points being made, protocols followed. There's going to be an arbitrator that will provide, or you can bring your arbitrator. I asked you a few questions today. You said, I don't know, haven't heard of it. No big deal. You don't have to know everything. with an attempt at arriving at the truth rather than just doing a jujitsu move on your opponent. So it's possible even people we disagree with or hold opposing views from us, they may end up teaching us something we didn't know.
Yes.
So it's not a question of us losing our livelihood or something like that. We're not in that space. So we don't really have anything to lose by debating or presenting our arguments in a fairly moderated debate platform. That's my view. What are your thoughts on that?
Of course, that's great. You learn things, yeah. But with the I assume or yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, proving that. But if anybody has any questions, they could directly call you, I'm sure, right? Should I list your phone number and email address?
You can put my email address, yes.
So this is the email address, singh@gosatvicnow.com. Let's say, for example, they wanted to actually challenge your views and say, no, I believe what you've written in the book is completely wrong and I challenge you.
Sure.
So that's what I mean. We have a platform for that. We'd like to send you our protocols to look over, review, see if you are agreeable with that or not. These are all things that I like to, whenever I talk to people who are well-researched, well-studied, and they say things online, I'd like to give them the opportunity to say that. We're willing to back up what we say. Are you familiar with Dal Bigtree?
Yes, the High Wire News.
The High Wire. This is one thing that I had an objection to what he was saying, is that he would frequently say in the High Wire that I will debate anyone who's blah, 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 right? Never see him debating anyone. So are you saying nobody out there is wanting to debate you? So then I wrote to his organization about that a couple of times, and I'm in agreement with him, right? I'm actually in his camp. I was a big follower of his also, but when it came to debate, I just saw a complete lack of it. So he actually called me to come on his podcast, and I came on there and I asked him a few questions. They were like just back and forth a little bit. After that, there was no follow-up. And he says, this is the reason we're not going to do these kinds of things again. Because there are so many people giving so many different information online. So there should be a fair way for people to be challenged and then say, okay, here's what I say about that. So that's the reason I kind of feel that it's a service.
Yes, that makes sense. And with the carnivore diet that I brought up, like it's quite like now like people promoting the carnivore diet, and I don't wrap on my head how can like eating flesh with their natural diet, and especially with the diabetics, because I have lots of people contacting me for diabetes, so they have seen it that there's no carbs. It's actually zero carbs in the meat, and therefore it's the best for the diabetes. And I'm like, yes, there's no carbs in that, but you need glucose.
Right.
Those fats and those proteins would ultimately be broken down into glucose, and your body would need them to survive. So I had she was taking up 28 units of insulin to bring her blood glucose levels to a normal range while being on a carnivore diet.
Oh.
So she was on a carnivore diet and she's taking 28 units of insulin to bring her glucose to normal. And now she watches my videos and she reads my book on a plant-based diet, and she follows that. Now she hasn't even consulted me, and she's just following what's in the book. And she emails me that after reading your book and following what you're telling me, my insulin requirements have dropped down to 4 units a day.
I see. Have you heard of Paul Saladino?
Yeah.
What do you think about his carnivore thing that he wasn't? I believe the last time I saw a video of him, he was on some island or something like that. He had his fridge stocked with vegetables.
Yeah. He started from only, and then meat and honey, and then fruit and some vegetables.
Right. Yeah. So I guess he doesn't always agree, but yeah, I like what you said. Go try it, and when it doesn't work, then come to me.
That's what I that do what you want to do, see how well you feel, and until when you feel, and once those results start diminishing, come to me. I'll let you know how to go further beyond that.
Preet, thank you very much for spending this time with us and giving us your knowledge and your experience. And we really appreciate you coming on our show.
Thank you so much for having me, Umar. And if you can share something about Mr. Acharya-ji, because I was in India and I was reading the things that he has been teaching, And when I came to Canada and I interacted with other hygienists, so I found out that this is what our Indian hygienists had written, and that relates what the modern day fruitarians also say. So can you tell me a few things about Mr. Acharya ji?
Absolutely. I will send you the information and the links.
Mhm.
And he worked very closely with Gandhiji. Gandhiji was also a nature curist himself. And he also wrote one edition of, or not himself, actually, Morarji Desai. He took the teachings of Gandhiji and wrote a practical nature cure version of his own. Gandhiji had written once to my great-grandfather saying that I feel that drinking milk is a sin, you know. So can you give me a substitute, maybe something like goat's milk or something like that? And so Acharya Lakshmanaji wrote back one sentence: "There's no substitute for sin," and that's all he wrote. And apparently Gandhiji didn't like that. He felt it's they kind of had a little disagreement on that. But Gandhiji was he was a nature curist. Acharya Lakshmana is a great scholar of Sanskrit as well. He wrote this book called Swadhina Swastha Mahavidya, and that's part of the course that we offer on the IMANAH website. We also offer courses and camps. Do you do any of that? Do you offer courses or camps or anything like that yourself?
Not at this point of time, no.
Okay. We would be doing those kinds of things in Canada as well, but we don't have very many contacts in Canada as of yet.
You have.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and Umar, don't mind me, like Umar Al Farouk is a Muslim, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
But Muslims, like when I on natural hygiene and I say to eat a plant-based diet, the comments from Muslim community is a lot. They would say that our Nabi has said that meat is allowed and good, and then I have to think about like how do I So what's the
So there are a couple of things I would mention. That I would approach this in a couple of ways. It's not just Muslims. There's also Jews. There are a lot of people who eat meat. So if you look at the overall reduction of meat in the world, that is supported by Islamic scripture. So in the Hadith corpus, and I personally am not a follower of Hadith. I follow the Quran. But in the Hadith corpus, which 99% of the Muslims follow, there is plenty of writings that say don't eat meat frequently. Umar ibn al-Khattab, for example, the second caliph, which is who I'm named after, he said that you should not eat meat every day. He discouraged frequent eating of meat. So you'll have very good luck reducing that meat intake. Once in a while, it's okay. Once in a week or so, then it's a lot easier for them to handle. It does say in the Quran, and I've written an article about this on a website called alhaq.com. This is something that I do on Sundays, that I run a podcast on religion. On that, I've written an article that says why there is no excuse for Muslims to eat unhealthy. So the phrasing in the Quran is that eat that of which God has provided you, that is halal, permissible, and tayyiba, which means good, which is good.
Right.
So it has to be permissible and good.
And good. It's not just allowed, but also good,
Also
recommended and healthy.
That's correct. And then the next verse, it says, Wala, and don't follow. He is to you an avowed enemy. And look at the phrasing, like eat healthy things and don't follow the Satan because he's your enemy,
Right.
And then follow through. And the next, following verses, like it goes even deeper,
Right.
And,
I think I'm able to reach this when they mentioned the word halal, that in our Islam it's allowed. I was like, it's allowed, but doesn't say that this is the healthiest food available.
That's right.
So when you have options to eat healthier choices, why would you go on that? Even if it's allowed, it's halal, but make better choices.
Right. But you'll have a much better luck if you were to, let's say, curb the meat intake rather than ban it outright with the Muslim community. Overall, if you were to look at the ethical arguments that vegans make about animal slaughter, rather make such an argument and then lose your base, than have your base say, okay, we can agree to have it, like make it half, quarter, or once in a while, once a month, and that kind of thing. You'll find a lot more agreeable people. So those will come on board rather than I've seen some militant vegans, and it's murder and have blood fur and all that other stuff. If you make it too dramatic, you're just going to have pushback. So instead, if you were to soften the language a little bit, you'll have much better luck. And then you can also refer to a lot of verses in the Quran that talk about things which are good for you. In the same series of verses that I was just mentioning, it says when you tell them to follow that which is righteous, they're like, no, we'll just continue to do what our forefathers are doing. So each of these arguments that they come up with is in that series, like where I started with that verse, and you continue down. All the arguments that you'll find as a pushback is already addressed in those verses.
Where can I?
It's the website alhaq.com, alhaq.com, and there's an article. So if you go to the article section, there's a article called "Why Muslims Have No Excuse to Eat Unhealthy." Imagine the people who claim we are rightly guided and we have the book of God, right? And then you look at the Pakistani statistics on diabetes. They're sitting at number 1 in the world.
31%.
31%. So number 1 prevalence of diabetes in terms of percentage in the entire world. So how can you then say, we're following of eating halal and tayyiba if you're in this state? You're the worst in the world when it comes to your health. So that kind of flies in the face of that rule. It said 99% of them will follow the hadith. I'm not from that camp. I don't follow the hadith. I follow the Quran. There's a long discussion to be had on that. In your concept of New World Order, I feel it's not just medicine that's been corrupted. It's education, it's finance, it's religion, it's everything across the board. Family values, the community building, everything. They've corrupted everything. So I've spent a lot of time, a lot of years, 20 plus years, doing the research on this, creating software to combat these things. That's what I do, let's say almost full time, aside from all the other stuff that I'm doing. But yeah, I'm willing to as much depth as you'd like at any time. So I'm always available here.
Have you made up on this subject, like in the plant-based diet, something like that?
Not the plant-based diet, but the whole community building concept. I've made a few videos on that as well. Because we have today Kamalpreet Ji. So the whole concept of building a community is gone. So you have fathers not trusting their children, husband not trusting the wife, everything, like friends not trusting each other. But the fact of the matter remains, you have to trust somebody. So what ends up happening is people are going to trust the banks to keep their money. People are going to trust the insurance company to have their back. They're going to trust the food industry, the drug industry, and the education system. They have to trust somebody. So instead of trusting each other, they have to place the trust on the system. Like I said, every one of those systems, the major systems, have been corrupted, including religion. There is a concept that I discuss in the other Al-Haq about how God reveals scripture for the common man. It's made for just you and me. It's not made for a scholarly class. God is communicating with the common man. So what these people do after that is they insert themselves between you and God, and they create all of this secondary, tertiary scripture that gives them the control and the power. So now they'll tell you, you cannot approach the Quran directly. You'll be misguided. How would the book of God misguide me? And you're going to guide me. So this is the problem, is that this has happened across the board. Most people that follow most religions don't read the book. They don't read the main book. They'll read the books written about the book. And they'll follow the people that claim to that.
Yeah.
And that's what is creating all of the sectarianism, all this fighting. And that's what these guys want to do. I mentioned in one of these podcasts that Indians and Pakistanis in the United States are best friends. But like you talk to in India and you talk to a Pakistani in Pakistan, they're enemies. What's going on? So who's making you fight? This is the same thing that goes on across the board. Nationalism, religion, finance, education, medicine, health, everything is like. So I've spent a lot of time researching on this, and like I said, I spend quite too many hours in the week. 2 boys, Abdullah and Zakaria, they're also like my left and right hand in everything. So I'm very grateful that I have that support. That's where I think we need to start, is with our families and communities. If we're able to figure out that formula on how to rebuild that community, they're done. Our enemies are done. Core thing is that trust. We need to redevelop that trust.
Yes.
So if we trust each other, why do we need them? Miya biwi razi to kya karega kazi.
Kazi, yeah, of course.
So it's been a real pleasure talking to you, Kamalpreet ji.
Thank you so much for having
We
me.
should do this again, and not only that, but even afterwards, anytime you feel free to contact me, we can have great conversation.
For sure. And don't mind, I wasn't able to look through like about the subject of conversation. So, and also Imana. So forgive me for that.
No, not at all. It's perfectly fine. I don't expect everyone to know. Thank you very much. And
Thank
thank
you
you
so
everyone for watching.
Thank you so much. Thank you.